Hi everyone, I'm Emily Teacher, and today we're reading Sacagawea's Great Adventure. Imagine being snatched from your family and friends as a young teenager and taken far from home to be sold into slavery. That was the fate of Sacagawea, a Shoshone chief's daughter. The Shoshone people occupied what is now central Idaho on the western slopes of the Rocky Mountains. Sacagawea was taken captive in 1799 during a skirmish with the Hidatsa raiding party. She was then carried off to their village on the banks of the Missouri River, 700 miles to the east, in what is now North Dakota. It must have been a terrifying experience for the young girl, but because of her kidnapping and the events that followed it, she became part of the United States history. This is her story. So we're going to learn the story of Sacagawea. You might have heard of her before, but she is very famous in U.S. history, even though she got her start as a girl who was kidnapped from her home. So let's find out more about Sacagawea and her story. After she had been kidnapped, Sacagawea was sold to a French Canadian named Charbonneau, who lived in the Hidatsa village. She became his wife when she was only 15 years old. In 1804, the Lewis and Clark expedition arrived at the village. Its purpose was to explore routes to the Pacific coast and report back to the United States government. Having set out from St. Louis 6 months earlier, its leaders decided that the Hidatsa village would be a convenient place to spend the winter. Because they knew they would be passing through Shoshone territory, they hired Charbonneau. He spoke the Shoshone language and could interpret for them. They decided that even though she just had a baby, Sacagawea should also accompany them. Her presence with the baby would demonstrate to the Shoshone that the expedition's intentions were peaceful. Okay, so Sacagawea was sold to this Hidatsa village to a man named Charbonneau. So she became his wife, even though she was only 15 years old. So then in 1804, the Lewis and Clark expedition came to this village. They were looking for someone who could speak the language of the Shoshone. And Charbonneau, with his wife who had come from the Shoshone territory, could interpret. He could understand and let them know they could help communicate with each other. So they were going to take Charbonneau, but they also decided to take Sacagawea because she had a baby. They thought the Shoshone would see that the expedition was there for a peaceful reason. In April 1805, the party set out, traveling in canoes up the Missouri River. Sacagawea, her baby strapped to her back, proved to be an invaluable member of the team. She collected roots and berries to supplement the food stocks. She was also able to add to the medical supplies, for she knew which plants had a beneficial effect when someone fell ill. One day, Charbonneau's inept handling of the canoe overturned it, and some important records would have been lost had Sacagawea not retrieved them. Because of such acts, Sacagawea earned the respect of Lewis and Clark. So Sacagawea was doing great things for this expedition crew. She was getting extra food and medical supplies because she knew what she could use from the earth for those things. And Charbonneau, his inept handling of the canoe, he was very bad at steering the canoe. So it overturned and everything fell into the water. And there would have been really important things lost that they worked hard to get. But Sacagawea got them back. And because of these things, Lewis and Clark began to respect Sacagawea and the work that she was putting in for the expedition. When they finally reached Shoshone country, Sacagawea had an ecstatic reunion with her brother, who was now a Shoshone chief. However, there was little time for her to linger among her own people. The expedition had to reach the Pacific before winter made travel impossible. So she couldn't stay for long, which was probably hard for Sacagawea, but she was able to be reunited with her brother that she thought she may never see again. So the Shoshone people were very ecstatic. They were happy to see Sacagawea. But again, they had to leave very quickly so that they could make it to the Pacific before winter. In mid November, the expedition reached the west coast. There, Sacagawea gazed for the first time at the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, of which she had heard stories since childhood. In March of 1806, the expedition began the return journey and reached the Hidatsa village in mid August. Sacagawea remained there with her husband and child while the rest of the party continued east. Her great adventure was over. She had done things that must have been beyond her wildest dreams only 2 years before. She had been reunited with her brother, whom she had never expected to see again, and she had seen the great water. Although she had no way of knowing this, she had also earned for herself an honored place in history. So it must have been amazing for Sacagawea to see this huge Pacific Ocean that she had never seen before. And that is the story of why Sacagawea is very honored in U.S. history. Thank you for reading with me today. We do have links related to each article. If you want the link for this story here, you can find it down in the description below.